It's no secret Intamin and Cedar Fair don't like each other. But have you ever wondered why? Because there are 3 reasons that Cedar Fair will never work with Intamin again. Or at least they say so. And make sure to stick around to the end, because the last reason is probably not what you think. So why will Cedar Fair and Intamin never work together again? Well, let's find out. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 main reasons that Cedar Fair and Intamin don't like each other. So, starting off with reason number 1. Intamin roller coasters were always unreliable. Not to mention all the problems they come with. Now, this doesn't really apply to modern day Intamins, because they are super reliable. Except this one. You guys know what I'm talking about. But back in the 1990s and early 2000s, that wasn't the case. Intamins were notoriously unreliable. Just about everyone built in that time period had issues. And not just minor issues either. There were some serious problems that Cedar Point had to deal with. I mean, they had to take out a whole inversion on Maverick. Like, what happened? That does not happen on a B&M or a Mach or anything like that. Nope, just early 2000s Intamin. Well, what about Millennium Force? They didn't have any problems. Well, actually it did. Force's brake run had a fatal design flaw, and it killed the capacity of this coaster, and made running 3 trains practically useless. Now, I'm not going to really get into the details of it, because I am no roller coaster engineer. But basically, the way the brake run was designed, it prevented the ride from operating at its theoretical hourly capacity, which means you have to wait longer in line because of it. Not to mention the cable lift on Millennium Force that just suddenly died, and Cedar Point had to replace it. Oh, and don't even get me started on Thrill Dragster. In fact, this roller coaster was such a mess, it probably deserves its own roller coaster failures video. So, stay tuned for that. This coaster left a sour taste in all of Cedar Fair's mouth. And it's even been said that the CEO of Cedar Fair even regretted buying it. And I kind of don't blame him. The amount of downtime that this coaster experienced was just ridiculous. This was lightning rod unreliability. And if you watch my lightning rod and roller coaster failure video, you know how unreliable lightning rod was. And I think Cedar Fair was kind of fed up with all this unreliability, especially when they got Maverick and they had to remove a whole inversion from this coaster. I think Cedar Fair they just had enough. But Cedar Fair gave Intamin one last chance. And you know what happened here. We got I35, and Cedar Fair wasn't exactly pleased. So that's the second reason why Cedar Fair and Intamin don't like each other. And that's I305. Cedar Fair was not happy when they paid $30 million for a Giga Coaster and got I305, which was way too intense for the average theme park guest. And this coaster has really struggled, and has not been very popular through the years. Think, Giga Coasters at other parks command some of the longest lines in the park, such as Orion and Fury 325. But I305? Nope, one of the shortest lines in the park. And, to be honest, I don't know this for sure, but Cedar Fair might have lost money on this coaster. And the return on investment just was not there. I305 is not the sole cause of Cedar Fair and Intamin not liking each other. There's still the whole Shoot the Rapids fiasco that I haven't covered yet, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Shoot the Rapids was a water ride manufactured by Intamin, and a serious accident occurred on it. I believe this is also partly why Cedar Fair was done with Intamin. First they were unreliable, and then people started getting hurt. That is not acceptable if you're a roller coaster manufacturer. And the accident is also on Intamin. So this is just a quick overview of what happened to the best of my knowledge. And I'm not going to try to recreate this because I will not do a good job. But basically the boat failed to engage with the lift hill, and then the boat flipped over. And they had to be rescued. Luckily no one was severely hurt and no one died, but that could have been a whole lot worse. And as Cedar Fair was not happy, because you cannot have guests getting seriously injured on a ride. This is extremely rare. I did want to point it out to you guys, because this is a major reason why Cedar Fair and Intamin do not like each other. So, what is the last reason why Cedar Fair and Intamin do not like each other? And the reason is, Intamin never gave Cedar Point what they asked for. Now, this is going to sound a little weird, because they kind of got what they asked for, but when you take a deeper look into it, they really didn't. Let's start off with Millennium Force. Cedar Point wanted a high-capacity roller coaster, and they didn't really get one, due to the flawed brake run that Intamin designed. And as I said earlier, this led to drastically reduced capacity and longer lines, and Cedar Point wasn't exactly happy. You know why? Because that's not what Cedar Point asked for. They asked for it to be high capacity and be able to run 3 trains, and they got the 3 trains part, but it wasn't efficient. Intamin even advertises that Millennium Force can hit up to 1,600 riders per hour, but realistically, Millennium Force can't really get close to that. What about Topor Dragster? Now, I don't think, given what the Cedar Fair CEO said about Topor Dragster, I don't think they knew it would be as unreliable as it was. And they got what they asked for. They got the tallest roller coaster in the world, but it wasn't reliable. And after a serious incident that happened on Topor Dragster, they now basically have to replace it, after only like 20 years of operation. So, just another reason why Cedar Fair wouldn't exactly be happy with Intamin. Now, let's go to Maverick. So, Cedar Fair paid a 3 inversion coaster, and they got a 2 inversion coaster. That doesn't sit well. And Intamin made the design risk of putting in the Heartline roll, but it ended up being a design flaw, as it was way too intense for the average theme park guest, and they had to remove it. And on top of that, the coaster opened late. Yet again, another reliability problem, and a design flaw that really set the coaster back. It resulted in a delayed opening, and potentially lost revenue. Now, for I35. What did Cedar Fair ask for? Most likely, they asked for a Giga coaster that would be similar to Millennium Force. Also a coaster that would be just as popular as Millennium Force. What did they get? Got a super intense roller coaster that us enthusiasts love, but was too intense to be popular. And again, this was another design risk taken by Intamin that ended up becoming a major flaw. And it's the reason that I, and many other people too, consider I35 to be a failure. It just wasn't a smart decision by Intamin to make it so intense. And I don't know for sure, but I seriously doubt that Cedar Fair asked for such an intense coaster. Especially one that was going to be so intense that it wouldn't be popular. That just doesn't make sense. Now, is it partly Cedar Fair's fault? Yes, they had to have seen the layout beforehand. And they probably should have taken a second look and saw that first turn and been like, there's no way this is going to work. This one's partially on Cedar Fair here. But it wasn't a good idea, including the first turn in the first place. Shoot the Rapids. What did they ask for? Most likely a fun little water ride that would be a great addition to Cedar Point. What did they get? They got a ride that had a major incident and could have seriously injured someone. You see, Intamin just never delivered what Cedar Fair asked for. And that's a major problem. You always try to give the parks what they ask for. And to be honest, some of it is also Cedar Fair's fault, but they still didn't get what they necessarily asked for. And that is the third and final reason why Cedar Fair and Intamin don't like each other. And you can see why that these two companies wouldn't exactly be on the best terms. They're probably equally annoyed at each other, and that's just kind of making the situation worse. But hopefully with the Six Flags and Cedar Fair merger, these two companies can get back on better terms. Because like me, you probably like Intamin coasters, because they're really good and intense. And I would love to see some Intamins pop up at the Cedar Fair and Six Flags parks. But these two companies need to get on better terms with each other. I really hope they do. So, that is why Cedar Fair and Intamin don't like each other. And if you enjoyed the video, then giving it a like would be a great way to say thank you, because this video took a lot of time and effort to make. And if you would like to see more content like this, then sub to the channel would be fantastic. And if you want to know why Lightning Rod was a huge mistake for Dollywood, then click the video on your screen, because it'll tell you everything you need to know. Let's hope Cedar Fair and Intamin can make up, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.